Monday morning. It is gorgeous here. We're going to have 70-degree weather today. I think I'm going to spend most of the day outside sitting in my chairs with my little laptop trying to work. But we are ASMM Digital. I'm Ann Brennan, and this is the Small Business Connections podcast. We are the podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs. Our goal each and every week is to give you something you can walk away with and put to work in your business. If we don't do that, we're not doing our jobs. If we're only selling you something, we're not doing our jobs. That is not our point here at all. So we want to give you something every week. And I've decided that one of the ways I'm going to do that, just in case my guests don't deliver, and they always do, but just in case they don't, is to start with a little bit about what I'm going through. So I wanted to talk about stress. We've had a lot of stress here. I had back surgery a few months ago, so I had spent 6 weeks out. I've come back. We're trying to redo things at work. I've got a new opportunity that's come my way, hoping, fingers crossed, I'll know about it soon, whether I'll be part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 program. Lots and lots of things happening. And so it might mean I could not breathe, but I can breathe, and I want to tell you why I can breathe. The reason I can breathe, the reason I feel calmer, the reason I feel like I can sleep at night is that I started meditating. And it sounds crazy because if you know me, you know I was a marathoner and an Ironman, and I am always moving. I run a business, I have a family, I run a charity. I am always doing something. I often think I am the world's busiest person, and yet I'm able to meditate. I'm able to sit still and do it. And I've grown actually from taking it that first minute where it's only breathing for a minute. That's all I would say. Like, if I can just breathe for a minute, I'll make it through, right? And then I started adding until I got to 5 minutes. And currently, I just started about a week and a half ago, I started transcendental meditation, which is 20 minutes twice a day. I thought that was going to be impossible, and it's been wonderful. It has reduced my stress by so much. And the reason I'm telling you this today is because our guest, Coach Rich Perry, he talked about this on his podcast this morning. I don't know when he released it. I listened to it this morning. And he talked about how just taking 5 minutes to yourself can reduce that stress. It really is amazing. So if you're feeling stressed today, I want to challenge you. Take 1 minute to just sit and breathe. Even if you have to count your breaths, I think that's what I did, is I counted my breaths and to see how few breaths I could take in a minute to slow it down and get through that minute. So let's invite Rich on the show. Hi, Rich. How are you?
Hey, Ann, how you doing today?
I'm good. I loved the podcast, and it was great timing this morning for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah. Last time you were on the show, you were a trooper. We had horrible internet service. So I'm glad you've come back. I'm glad you've come back. So this morning, I listened to your podcast, and then I messaged, and it's not really her name, but her Twitter handle is Dover,
Mhm.
Eileen Dover, and she talked about meditation as well. And I asked her what she was doing, and she's doing mindfulness meditation, and I do transcendental meditation now. Do you do a specific type of meditation, or do you really do what I was saying, which is take some time to breathe?
It depends. I certainly like mindfulness meditation. And like I said in the podcast and several of the videos that I put out last week, sometimes it's a moving meditation. Sometimes it's walking around. It could be, sitting at your desk for a few minutes. It could be any way that is beneficial to you, the doer, the practitioner. That's
Right.
that's what works.
Right. One of the things that I started doing was waking up in the morning, instead of jumping out of bed, stopping. I used to just jump out of bed and just go. And then I was like, nope, I'm going to take a couple of minutes here. So,
Mhm.
so we're going to tell everybody a little bit about you, and then we're going to talk about podcasts and getting yourself out there in a way that you reach people and you become the expert. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So I'm a communication strategist. I help people to share their message, whether we're talking about learning how to blog, whether it's you're interested in podcasting as the host or the guest. It could be speaking in front of an audience. Okay, it's how are you going to share your message? Maybe you're going to write a book or start a video series, a YouTube channel. What are you going to do to share your message with the people that really want to hear it most?
Well, and it's so important. It's funny because I fell into it, this, right? I started this podcast simply to get my clients in front of people. And then people started asking, can I come on your show? I said yes. And then it's been, I guess, almost a year later, a little over a year later, and people are asking me or saying to me all the time, oh my gosh, Ann, you're everywhere. And I'm really not. I'm on this podcast, I'm on this live video series. And that's why it looks like I'm everywhere. But it makes a difference. It makes them see me in a different light. So,
Absolutely. And it's just putting yourself out there. Like you said, it's whatever is best for you, whether it's writing, whether it's making videos, whether it's podcasting, whatever is going to help you share your message and make the biggest impact. That's what you should do.
right. Well, and if I can be an accidental podcaster, anybody can do this. So let's talk about what I mean, honestly, it was a total accident. If I can be an accidental podcaster, you can do this. So what are you looking for when you go out and say, I want to be a podcaster, I want to have a podcast? What are some of the features you're looking for in a podcast platform, I'm guessing?
There are so many cool platforms out there. For the new podcasters, someone that really is just starting out, I would suggest use one of the free platforms or use one of the platforms where it's very user friendly, like Anchor, for example. Anchor is free. It's completely user friendly. You don't need to have advanced technical skills. I would say dabble in something like an Anchor at first, just to get your chops up, just to see if it's something you really want to do before you start investing money and time. You're buying equipment and mics and all these things. And then 2 months later, you're like, oh man, I don't have time for this anymore. So if you're just starting out, use one of the free platforms and just get into the routine of creating good content for your audience.
Right. And you said the right thing, the routine. Get in the routine, make it consistent. And I think that's what happened with this podcast that's made it successful, and your podcast as well. We do it on a regular basis, and we do it like clockwork. It's going to happen no matter what. I was on vacation down in South Carolina and still doing the podcast from there. I did take 6 weeks off, but we ran some canned ones that I did. But luckily we did those all in the last week of December when I found out I was going to be having surgery in January. But so I didn't skip a week. It is important not to skip a week. So, all right. Well, let's talk about crafting your perfect pitch. And who are you pitching it to?
So if you're trying to be a guest, that's what you're asking, right? If you're trying to be a guest, if I'm trying to be a guest on your show, you want to craft the pitch that your either podcaster or the producer of the podcast is going to read that pitch and say, oh, we definitely want this person on the show. And the first thing that you need to do is do your research on the podcast. I can't tell you, and I'm sure you receive them as well. And how many times do you receive that copy and paste pitch that was sent out to 50 other podcasters? And maybe I'm a health and nutrition podcaster, you're a business podcaster, someone else is a sales podcaster. I'm just throwing these out there. And all three of us received the same pitch. Well, you're most likely not going to fit on all three of those podcasts. So number one, do your research, make sure you're pitching the right podcast, and make sure your pitch is tailored to the person who's going to read it. Make sure you show them, hey, I know about your podcast. I'm a fan of your podcast. I enjoy it. These are the things that I've received. These are the golden nuggets that I've gotten out of it. And now here's how I can add even more to your show. And if you can convey that, you're already steps and leaps above, beyond everybody else, because how many times have you received those copy and paste pitches that 100 people have received? So make sure your pitch is tailored to that podcaster.
Absolutely. And what you just said is, so say you are, we're a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs, but we've had fitness people on here. Why?
Hmm.
Because they call and they say, "Hey, Ann, I think your entrepreneurs could use some information about using fitness to be better at your job."
Hmm.
That's a great pitch. That's a great thing to tell me. So tell me more. Why does that work? What would they do? How would they do it? Well, I've got some desk exercises they can do. I want to talk to them about how nutrition will make their brain work better. I want to talk to them about how they can come up with their better ideas when they're running. That's a great pitch. And it doesn't seem like it would fit on this podcast, but it does. Fitness will fit if you tailor it to that person.
Nailed it. Exactly.
So,
And be creative, folks. Be creative with your pitch. Like if it's honest and genuine, then yes, you can certainly tailor a lot of different topics to a variety of different podcasts and audiences. But you certainly want to do your research, like Ann was saying, like you were saying, Ann, and make sure that the podcaster knows this person knows what they're talking about, and they're going to be able to say what they have to say, what they want to say to my specific audience, and it's going to resonate with them. So, absolutely, absolutely.
yeah. So, all right. So, how do you prepare for your interview?
You're certainly going to want to have your talking points. Like, for example, I know that you have an assistant. You have your Amanda, and Amanda
Yes.
helps out with a lot of the back end stuff. And she and I were in communication leading up to today's interview. And you and I know each other, so you and I were also in communication. And that's one of the things that you want to do is have good communication with either the host, the podcaster, or the producer, or someone who's back there that you're able to communicate in case you have last minute questions, in case you want to go over a couple things, making sure that you sent your bio properly, your headshot properly, like make sure you're getting all the details to that team. One of the things that your Amanda, your assistant, asked me was, "Hey, Rich, what are some of your talking points?" And you were able to load those into the back end here on StreamYard, because right here underneath I'm seeing one of the talking points right now, which is preparing for the interview. If we just threw this thing together 5 minutes ago, you probably would not have had time to get my talking points, load them into StreamYard so that you can see them underneath. Now we're creating an even better episode because we had that good solid communication beforehand. Another thing you want to do, going back to what you were saying before, meditation, maybe just relax. Take a few minutes before the interview. You want to have a glass of water nearby, which I do. You want to take a couple deep, calming breaths just to relax, especially if you're new as a guest. You might get the jitters. You might get a little stressed out, or, oh no, what's going to happen? So you'd certainly want to come into the interview with a nice, clear, and relaxed head and presence. So maybe taking some time to just calm down before that interview. All that stuff is really good prep work. Having all your information ready to go, good communication, and being relaxed are a great way to prepare for that interview.
Absolutely. I want to add, first of all, I want to say, go back to something you said, having all your information ahead of time. One of
Hmm.
the pluses about that is it allows the host to promote you ahead of time. So
Hmm.
we've had it out there for days, actually weeks, that you were coming on the show. That's been out there for a very long time. I had a guest who said, he kept said, "Can I come on your show?" We said yes, and we kept hounding him for his talking points, his bio, his headshot, just wouldn't get it to us. Finally, I was like, "I'm going to have to bump you. If
Hmm.
I can't get him, I'm going to have to bump you." He says, "Read my book."
Hmm.
I was like, "Yeah, sure, buddy."
Yeah, nothing better to do.
So, exactly. But I do want to suggest another preparation. watch or listen to the show so
Sure.
you're not caught out, because a couple of reasons. One is I had someone come on the show one time, and she came on and she looked and she goes, "Oh my god, it's video." And I was
Ah,
like, "Yes, it is." She's like, "I've got to go put on makeup, I'll be right back." But then the other thing is that sometimes you need to know that personality. If it's,
mhm,
I'm pretty outgoing, and I'm, very, it's not just talk to you and talk at you. You know what I mean? It's not, it's a conversation.
mhm.
So it's nice to know that when you come on. I did one with oh my gosh, and I loved her so much. I can't believe I'm going to forget her name. Liz Teresa. And have you met her yet?
I don't believe the name doesn't ring a
Oh,
bell.
we have to get you on her podcast.
Okay.
She does a podcast and she uses the word wicked a lot. She's from Boston, Boston,
Okay.
and oh my God, it's the most fun podcast. But it puts mine on a whole, like, I'm like, oh, I'm really conservative
Uh-huh.
compared to her. She is just out there and so much fun. But I listened ahead of time, so I knew that, and it's good to know those things.
Mhm.
So, all right, position yourself as a credible expert. And this, I want to say, somebody said to me a long time ago, be the person on the stage, because if you're the person on the stage, you're the expert in the room.
Mhm.
So you want to position yourself in this way. So talk a little bit about how you do that.
So one of the first things, and I'm actually going to go back to a point that we were making before, is positioning yourself as an expert even starts out when you're just communicating with the podcaster. Because if you have that bad experience with the podcaster where you're not getting your bio in on time, your profile photo in on time, your talking points and your links and things like that, you're already having a bad you're starting things off on the wrong foot with that podcaster who's not going to be able to help you position yourself as that expert. If that podcaster is in your corner, they're going to do whatever it takes to make you, the guest, seem like the greatest person in the world. And you probably are. You probably are an expert in what you do. You certainly want to have the podcaster in your corner. The next thing you want to do is come off professional. Okay. Whether we're talking about submitting a professional looking headshot, your talking points, your bio, you certainly want to come off like you are that expert, you are that professional. You don't want to send in some haggard looking profile photo. All right. So make sure you're projecting that air of professionalism. The other thing you want to have is great tips, golden nuggets, value, information that you can deliver to the audience. Make sure you're giving them a reason to stay tuned in, because they might just tune out of the conversation and exit out of that interview. So make sure you're delivering great quality information to that audience, whether that's steps, 1 through 5 steps of this is what you have to do. Here, we're giving you expert advice on how to get onto those podcasts, position yourself as an expert. And then we're going to be talking about marketing information later on, how to continue that and market that episode. So we're going to give you real good stuff that you can take those notes and take action on what it is that we're teaching you. Just giving out your expertise, your tips, your experience, shared stories, helping those people to overcome obstacles. All right. So what can you do to deliver that value that's going to help them learn something and then implement it later on?
Right. Well, and that's a good point, because a lot of people will come on and they're like, I want to promote my book.
Mm-hmm.
And so the entire time they talk about that, let me tell you about my book. Here's how you buy my book. This is, and they're selling, and that's not the way to do it. If you want somebody to buy your book, show them that your book is worth reading. Tell
Mm-hmm.
them some stories. Tell them what your expertise is. It does make a huge difference to be that kind of person who is giving them something that they go, gosh, I want to call them. I want to be a part of this. So,
Right.
um,
And
all right, what were you gonna say?
oh no, I was just going to re-emphasize what you said. Don't treat podcasts when you're going on someone's podcast as a sales funnel or an opportunity to sell your services. You're going on there to deliver value. That podcaster might ask you at the end, hey, do you have a course? Do you have a book? Do you have something? But save that for the end if that podcaster asks. Don't use their platform to go on there and just start selling. Not a good thing. Not a good thing.
Right, exactly. Well, and yeah, it's not even good for you, really. If you think about standing up on the stage, if you stand up on the stage the entire time talking about your book as opposed to talking about what you're giving the audience,
Hmm.
and a podcast is the same thing. So one of the things I want to talk about when you're talking about becoming a credible expert is you have to build a platform. You've done a great job of this. You've got a great Twitter following. I think you've got a good, I haven't paid attention to your numbers on Instagram, but I know you have a good Instagram following.
Hmm.
You're out there in multiple ways. So you do have to, maybe goes back to preparing for the interview, but definitely goes back. Actually, it goes back to all of it. If you think about getting the pitch right, getting your pitch right, if you say to somebody, I've got 15,000 people following me on Twitter, they're going to be more likely to have you on,
Hmm.
right? If you can say, I've got a following that's going to come along with me, that goes a long way to help you out. So,
Absolutely, absolutely, um, and that podcaster is going to want to hear that. So definitely communicate that as well.
exactly. Exactly. All right, now let's talk about my favorite part, which is marketing your episode so that you reach more people. So, how do you suggest doing that?
So there are a lot of ways that you can market that episode. It could be one of the first ways, like you were just saying, is to share the information, share the announcements on social media across all your channels. Reach out to the podcasting team to see if they have marketing materials that you can share. Maybe they create. I know that you create little headshot promo images that you use on Instagram and things like that. So you want to like throw those out there to your social media verse, whatever it's Facebook or LinkedIn, Twitter, or whatever. Um, you want to put out blasts to your email followers, your email subscribers. Maybe you want to take a proactive approach and share the information. Maybe you want to create your own little promo video or promo pictures. Hey, I'm going to be on so and so's show. Hey, I'm going to be on someone's live stream. Hey, I'm going to be doing this. Take a proactive approach to marketing it. Another thing you can do is to repurpose the content. So I know that we have the video, then there's the audio. You can take out those sound bites. Maybe one of us is going to say something profound, which I know that we already did. And
Absolutely.
you want to take out those sound bites, and now those can be tweets. Those can be pictures that you make on Canva to be shared on Instagram. Those can be all kinds of cool ways to repurpose the content. If you yourself are the podcaster, or if you're an active guest on a variety of podcasts and maybe you have a bunch of different topics that you're talking about, you can repurpose that content, creating videos for yourself, creating articles that could be published on other people's platforms, giving credit back. Hey, this is a topic that I discussed on so and so's podcast, and now I'm delivering it in blog form for the people that prefer reading as opposed to listening or watching. And we know that there are
Absolutely.
a lot of people that their preferred method of digesting content, taking in content, is maybe I like video, maybe I like audio, or maybe I like reading. So you can repurpose that content to reach a much wider audience.
Yes, I love everything you just said is so spot on. Do it before, do it after. So many people will create a blog and they'll have a wonderful blog. I've gone to them and I love them. They're wonderful. However, they post one time on the blog. They don't share on Twitter. They don't share on Instagram. They don't share anywhere. And then you don't find it. Whereas if they could put it out there and use it over and over again in interesting ways, there's
Hmm.
so much you can do with your content. There's so many ways you can reuse it. One of the things we'll do after the show is we'll send you small 2-minute snippets
Hmm.
of the
Oh,
videos. And then you can share it on Twitter, you can share it wherever you want to share it. You can put it on your you could put the whole show on your website. We do that. If you go to our website, you under videos, you'll find every single video we've done. Every
hmm.
single video we've done has been reposted there. And there's another one just for podcasts. So just the audio version is there. For every single one is there. So you can find them. And it helps you in a number of ways. But I love what you said. People don't think to do that. Take what you've just discussed here and create a blog post about it and say, I discussed this here. That way you're linking back to me. So you've got that link back, which Google loves. That makes Google happy. Anything to make them happy.
Hmm.
And you're creating real content for your clients. For your customers. That's a really powerful thing to do.
And if I can even add on top of that, because it's something that I forgot to mention the first time around, um, continue to promote those episodes because we're doing this. It's the live stream. What's today? 4/4, right? April
Right.
4th. Now, maybe I'm going to meet somebody tomorrow, or maybe I'm going to meet a new connection on LinkedIn a week from now, or 2 weeks from now, or a month from now, and it's going to help them. But if I don't tell that person in the future, hey, 3 weeks ago, I did an episode on Annie's show. You got to check it out. A lot of people forget. They think, oh, well, I did the podcast on Monday. And once it's over, it's over. No, continue to promote it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, two weeks from now, a month from now, because it may be old to you because you did it on April 4th. However, the people that you meet in May and June and July, it's brand new to them. So make sure you continue to go back into the archives and promote those older episodes to those people. It's brand new to them. You're going to reach a brand new audience and they're going to love you for it.
Absolutely. And I'll give you proof of that. If you go back and listen to my podcast or look at my podcast, my most popular podcast. Do you know what it was? It wasn't Carlos Gill or Chris Brogan, who are both amazing people and have their own followers and brought me a ton of followers. That's not who it was. It was the very first podcast I did. Why? Because it's been promoted over and over and over and over and over again.
Uh-huh.
And so it's been listened to by multiple people. And this one will get to that point, right? Each podcast, the more you put it out there, the better it does. But it's the sitting there and then repurposing it that does that for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where what's his name? He did oh my gosh, I'm embarrassed. Pat Flynn. Pat Flynn talks about this all the time, that his best podcasts are things that he did 5 or 10 years ago that he wasn't nearly as good as he is now,
Mm-hmm.
but people were still listening to them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's such a, I'm glad you brought that up because it is so important. So, all right, let's talk about favorite books because this is one of my favorite parts of the show. What is a book that we should tell people to read? If you had to pick a book to read, what would it be?
Lord of the Rings. No, just
Oh.
no, only because
So you can tell them
only
why.
because I saw that post of yours, that tweet of yours. Now, how to win friends and influence people is certainly a book that, I mean, it was written in, I believe, 1937, and the information that he's talking about, Dale Carnegie, the information that Dale Carnegie is talking about in that book written in 1937 is just as relevant today. Some of the stories might be a little bit outdated, but the message is the same, and it's how are you going to relate to people, how are you going to communicate with people, how are you going to build prosperous relationships, real relationships, and utilize social skills to have an impact with others. So certainly how to win friends and influence people.
And this is a book we're going to do. We have not StreamYard, I call it that all the time, Clubhouse.
Hmm.
We do a show at 11 a.m. on Mondays, right after the show, actually. And we talk about books. And that will be the next book we're going to talk about. Right now, we're doing The Power of One. But I like what you said. So it's almost like repurposing. It's sort of like what we just talked about, right? This book has been around since 1937, but it still matters. So the
Yeah.
podcasts that, they still matter in the future. But it brings up, I've been reading meditations in the morning. I've been reading The Daily Stoic. Have you picked this up yet?
No, I haven't.
It is amazing. And they're very short. They're just little daily meditations, but it'll be Marcus Aurelius talking about something. And it was in 1, AD.
Hmm.
And so way before our lifetimes, so many thousands of years ago. And yet I can put exactly what he said. I can take it and put it to work in my life. So it amazes me when we look back and we find these books like that one, How to Win Friends and Influence People, or The Daily Stoic, and you can go back and look at these things and go, God, this wisdom, it's just wisdom. It's
Hmm.
going to be there forever. My kids will do it, and their kids can benefit from all of these things. So I love that you picked that book in particular. So, all right. Tell people how they can work with you. If they want your help on getting onto the podcast, if they want your help in crafting a message, creating books, getting themselves out there, how do they start working with you?
So I see that you have my website up there. So thank you so much, Anne. Go to my website, richperry.com. I have tons of information that you can learn more. And then there are ways that you can connect with me. There's a brief form that I can gather information from you, basically, because you're on my website and you're finding out about me. Well, now I want to hear about you. What's your story? Who do you want to talk to? How do you want to communicate with people? So give me information now. Go to richperry.com, and across all my social media channels, it's Coach Rich Perry. So that's how you can find me across all channels, and reach out to me. Let's connect. Let's chat. And that's the best way.
I want to say something about you, and I didn't tell you I was going to say this, so hopefully you're okay with me doing this. But I want to encourage people to follow you. You can follow him at Coach Rich Perry everywhere. But the reason I want to do it is because he does such a great example. Rich, you have such a great example of how to do social media, because you seldom ask anything. You seldom ask for a give, like for somebody to give you something or
Hmm.
buy something from you. You're always giving, and you're always helping promote other people, and it is a pleasure to watch. It's really amazing to watch what you do on Twitter, because I don't know if it was training or whether it was just your gut instinct that was the way to do it, but you're doing it so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. If I was influenced, it was certainly by books like How to Win Friends and Influence People, when they talk about giving onto others and positioning other people, and putting other people in the spotlight, and singing other people's praises. One of the key tenets that Carnegie's talking about, and that's why I do things like Saturday shout outs and spotlights and things like that, is to use my platform to big up other people. So thanks for saying that.
Yeah,
And
you do a really great job. So you stick around, don't go anywhere. I'm going to tell everybody what they need to do next. All right, everybody, I want to remind you, my kids still think I am a nerd because I haven't reached 1,000 subscribers yet. So please go and subscribe over at youtube.com/Brennan Annie. If you can subscribe there, it would be great. If you can leave a comment, it would be even better. And if you can leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. So if you're listening to it and not watching it, please do leave a review. It helps us. We are a small business that helps small businesses. So your review can make a big difference, not just for me, but for my clients as well. And actually for our guests as well, because we bring the guests on with the idea of getting them more exposure. So you could help us a lot by just subscribing. I want to tell you who we have coming on next week. We have Howard Sobkov. He's coming on to talk about commercial real estate, which might seem boring in any other industry, in any other time, in any other decade. But right now, with what's happening in the world, it's so important. It's such an interesting time for commercial real estate. And whether people are going to go back to work and whether they're going to continue to work remotely, all this is really important. And he's going to talk about how he built his business. So, let me go back. Hold on one second. I'm having a hard time. There you go. Hi, Rich. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for the invitation, and we certainly rocked it. We didn't have any snafus this
Oh
time
my
around,
gosh.
and the internet gods were with us, and we appreciate that, and I appreciate you and being here. So thank you so much.
Well, I have to tell you, Rich, I didn't want to jinx us, but this morning I woke up and my alarm didn't go off, but my natural alarm went off, and I was like, "What is wrong?" Well, Amazon's device, I won't say what the name is because she'll start talking to me, had stopped working. So I tried to talk to her and she said, "Oh, your internet's not working." And I was like,
Oh
"Oh
man.
no." So I didn't say at the beginning of the show, at least it's back because I was a little worried. So I'm glad that the internet gods are looking down on us in a good way today. All right, you stick around. Everybody else, I will see you next Monday. Please take care. Please do subscribe so my kids don't think I'm a nerd. Talk to you later. Bye bye.